I feel like we're in that season for graduations, so there are all sorts of invitations going around for graduation dinners, graduation lunch, different things. But I was just thinking about it today, and I was like, if you got an invite to attend a party or a birthday party, a graduation party, ratio, whatever kind of a party it is, or just a hangout, um, I have a feeling like there are normally like reasons why you'd accept or not accept to go for that party. And for many of us, depending on your personality, your likings, my personality, of course, because of being socially aware and introverted, you start with thinking about who is going for that party, who's going to be there. Some other people will be like, hey, where is the party? How far away is it from a place of my convenience? Some other people will probably consider like the day. There are people who don't like doing anything on Sunday. They're like, Sunday is my me time. I'm not leaving the house. Some people would consider, is it day or night? There are many considerations, like before you say yes, and even sometimes after you've said yes, you're probably going to cancel out on that party because of different reasons. And that's the nature of how we deal with invitations. Like, it's sometimes I feel like that RSVP thing doesn't work in our country, because you never know whether people are coming until the very last minute. When the bash is going on, then you're like, oh, so and so came, and so and so came, and so and so came. And that's how we respond to invitations. And the scripture that I'm going to read today is actually an invitation. Some guy was being invited into something. His name is Ezekiel, and he's a prophet in the Old Testament. And one day he's having this conversation with an angel. They used to do that a lot back in the day, and the angel is inviting him into something. So I'm going to read a few verses for us, and then we'll make some quick observations, and that will be a devotion today. I know I didn't say welcome, but now let me say welcome to this. Would be our last devotion for this series Deeper that we've been going through. So welcome, and let's read Ezekiel. I'm going to read Ezekiel chapter 47 for us. I'm reading from the Message version. You can follow it up on the screen if that's okay for you. It says, "Now he brought me back to the entrance of the temple." So Ezekiel is narrating the story, and he says, "I saw water pouring out from under the temple porch to the east. The temple faced east. The water poured from the south side of the temple, south of the altar. He then took me out through the north gate and led me around the outside of the gate to the gate complex on the east. The water was gushing from under the south front of the temple." Now start listening to this. Verse 3 says, "He walked to the east with a measuring tape and measured off 1,500 feet, leading me through water that was ankle deep. He then measured off another 1,500 feet, leading me through water that was knee deep. He measured off another 1,500 feet, leading me through water waist deep. He measured off another 1,500 feet. By now it was a river over my head, water to swim in, water no one could possibly walk through. Then he said, 'Son of man, have you had a good look?' Then he took me back to the river bank. While sitting on the bank, I noticed a lot of trees on both sides of the river." Verse 8, "He then told me, 'This water flows east, descends to the Araba, and then into the sea of stagnant waters. When it empties into those waters, the sea will become fresh. Wherever the river flows, life will flourish. Great schools of fish, because the river is turning the salt sea into fresh water.'" I'll pause there for our reading today. And it's a very interesting story because the angel asks Ezekiel to get into the river. That's what other versions, that's where the other versions start from. He gets into the river, and then the angel asks him to walk a little bit. He walks a little bit, the water is ankle deep. He walks again a little bit, now the water is knee deep. Again a little bit, waist deep. Again a little bit, and now he's swimming under the water. And I wanted us to talk about this as an invitation. There was an invitation for Ezekiel to enter this water. There was an invitation for him to get in, and there was an invitation for him to move from the place where the water was ankle deep and to the place where the water was knee deep, and continued on to the place now where the guy could literally, was covered all over him. And the thing I wanted us to ask ourselves today is a very simple question. God is constantly inviting us into something. God is constantly asking you to commit to something. God is constantly calling you into something. God is constantly asking you to follow him somewhere, to commit to do something. And whatever that may look like, for some of us, that call for us is maybe a call, to follow some area of purpose that has been in your heart and your mind for a very long time. For others of us, that call would probably be a call like, to show up for your family more, or to commit to a relationship more. For others, it would be a call for your career. Maybe you need to change careers, or maybe you need to commit for the career that you're in, and to follow into what God has put in your heart. For many of us, maybe it's a call to commit to some friendships, or it's a call to commit to even simple things like just fitness. God is constantly calling us to something. For Ezekiel that day, it was to constantly follow God follow the angel of God in that river. But my question to you is, what will your response be to whatever God invites you to today? What will your response be? Because for Ezekiel, there was that. I love the fact that there was that descent. I love that fact. There was that descent. Like he kept moving from one level to another, from knee deep to ankle deep. Like there was a growing commitment. He didn't just stand and stay in one place. He answered the call, whatever that call was. For him, it was the call to follow the angel. And then he deepened in that call, And my challenge to us today is there's an invitation that has been given to you. There's something that has been placed in your heart to do. Maybe you just have a burden and you're like, man, my faith needs to grow. I need to do something about my faith. For others of us, maybe you it's about a relationship you're in, and you constantly feel in your heart that I need to give more in this relationship. I want to commit to it. All those categories that I've listed down, the challenge to us today is to commit, to answer the invite, commit deeply, and follow God trustfully. Answer the invite, commit deeply, and follow God with a full trust that he who has called you knows where he's leading you to. I don't know what may hold you back. We were talking about this in church the other day, and we listed a number of things that normally hold us back from following God. The first one is comfort, just the desire to stay in one place. For many of us, maybe, you've entered a place and you're like, I'm okay with just staying here. And sometimes stagnation is not even a thing that we fight because it brings comfort. The place. If you enter to a level and now it's a level that is knee deep, that level and you want to stay there because the level. Yeah. For others, it's, I've talked about comfort. For many other people, it's fear. You're just afraid. You're like, there's an unknown. Like whatever God is calling me to, I don't know what it is going to be like. So let me not even commit to it. Yeah. And fear holds us back from that. For many others, other than fear, it's just the fact that we commit. It's starts and stops. That's what we called it in church. We commit, and then we get to some point, we lose interest, or our feelings drop, and then we're like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this again. I don't know in all this spectra what it is that is keeping you away from answering the invitation that God has pushed your way. But the thing that I wanted to challenge you today is to think about the thing that God has placed in your heart to do, the passion that God has given you, the call that God has sent your way. And I wanted you to really, really consider what is stopping you from following God fully. I don't think that Ezekiel didn't have doubts, especially if you're being led in water and you're just, the water is just deepening and deepening and deepening. At some point, you might have felt like, okay, let me pause and just find out, where are we going? But I love the fact that he followed. I love the fact that he trusted, and he was like, I trust the one who has called me. The Bible says that he who calls you is faithful. Yeah, that God will hold you all the way to the end. And the thing that I see is that had Ezekiel decided not to answer that call, had he decided not to get into that water and follow the angel, had he turned down the invite, he would never have gotten to the other side of seeing what he saw the river do. The plants, the trees, the Bible talks about the trees that were growing on the other side. And the Bible also talks about the fact that where the river flowed, it brought refreshing. In fact, we used to sing about that in Sunday school back in the day. I'm not going to sing. I used to sing about it back in the day, that wherever the river flows, it brings refreshing. I pray that you may commit and that you may follow God to the other side where you can see fruit and see delight in the things that He's calling you to. The deeper it gets, the more control you lose. That is true. But don't let that keep you away from answering the invitation that God calls you to. The deeper you get, oh man, the more and more frightening it becomes. Because you don't know. You've never been to this side before. You've never been this deep before. But don't worry. The one who calls you is faithful. And He will carry you and He will cause you to get to the other side fully well and totally okay in His hands. So God bless you. That was our series for Deeper, and I hope that it challenges you to make sure that you can make a deeper commitment to God and to follow Him unswervingly. Bye.